Good seeing you, Mr. Fitton.
Thank you.
Now, is it true that the most recent filings for the Clinton Foundation have shown a significant drop-off in donations now that they have no political power?
I haven't seen the filings themselves, but there's been reports that there's been a 62% drop-off in donations.
So Sidney Blumenthal, a known political operative, was retained by the Clinton Foundation, correct?
Yes, I recall he was getting paid at $10,000 a month by the Clinton Foundation.
So now, while he was getting a rather large paycheck from the Clinton Foundation, he was also in Libya serving as then-Secretary Clinton's unofficial advisor, correct?
According to the New York Times and documents, I think, disclosed as a result in part by Judicial Watch's efforts, he sent Mrs. Clinton 25 memos on Libya.
He was also pushing his own financial interests by trying to get contracts, correct?
Yes, he worked for the Clinton Foundation and he had business concerns in Libya, it's been reported.
Is there an ethical concern with a known political operative working for a supposed nonprofit that is pushing for a war that he can profit from?
Well, maybe. I think the public interest here is that Mrs. Clinton promised she'd stay out of Clinton Foundation business, and she immediately and secretly started taking advice from a Clinton Foundation official, Sidney Blumenthal.
Now, as we turn this body over to the opposition party here and they launch fake investigations into foreign influence, I would like to take some time to ask the panel about real foreign influence, because I know they're not going to. Now, we continually see foreign governments and foreign entities funnel millions of dollars to environmental groups. Two of the largest environmental groups in the world, the Natural Resources Defense Council and the Sierra Club, have received millions in grants from the Sea Change Foundation. The Sea Change Foundation itself got millions from a Bermuda company linked to Russia. As we all know, the environmental groups have undermined the energy sector in the United States. They've even got fracking banned in the cash-strapped state of New York. Now, if my friends across the aisle, the media and Mr. Mueller, were truly interested in Russian interference, would it make sense to start there, Mr. Fitton?
Oh, I've seen reports about that. The Russians obviously have an interest in making sure that competitors are harmed in the energy sector, and I'm surprised it has gotten more attention, their involvement in the environmental movement here in the United States.
So Russian money affecting U.S. policies that Russia benefits, it's incredible. In my other committee, the Natural Resources Committee, we're trying to investigate the relationship between the Natural Resources Defense Council and their links to Communist China government. The NRDC has gotten cozy with the environmentally unfriendly Chinese government while suing the U.S. government whenever it can, particularly the U.S. Navy and its weapon development programs. Now, I'm sure I don't need to remind anyone here that China sees the U.S. Navy as its greatest foe. Mr. Fitton, should a nonprofit be made to register as a foreign agent if it is taking funds and orders from a foreign government that is trying to harm U.S. national and energy security?
Maybe. One of the things I noted about the Clinton Foundation activities is that Doug Bann and others were always advocating on behalf of foreign nationals, which raised an issue of the Foreign Agents Registration Act as well. But certainly, if my understanding of the law is that there would be registration requirements potentially if you're essentially taking orders from a foreign government and beholden to them financially.
Now, nonprofits like the Open Society Foundations have been giving billions from wealthy benefactors. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, while there's nothing wrong with someone giving their money to an organization like Open Society, there is a problem when the federal government doles out millions of dollars in grants to these organizations. For instance, the National Immigration Law Center received hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants from the federal government and over $1 million from the Open Society Foundation while working against U.S. interest. Does it make sense to dole out taxpayer funds to groups that not only look to erode U.S. sovereignty, but are against official U.S. positions, Mr. Fitton?
Well, I think it's controversial. I think what also would be controversial is that the Soros operation and Mr. Soros's foundations, I think, is going to spend about $1 billion this year, as you point out, mostly of his own money, is subsidized in part by U.S. tax dollars, and he's a controversial figure in terms of his policy outlooks, and I question why it is tax dollars are supporting him.
It's definitely, the one last comment, Mr. Chairman. You know, when we start looking at nonprofits, I actually was part of a nonprofit, and you're rated about how much of your dollar goes to the mission statement of what you detail. So, for example, a good nonprofit, 97 cents of every dollar goes to that mission statement. And listening to Mr. Hackney, I now notice that the Clinton Foundation was very top-heavy with a lot of employees, a lot of exorbitant travel, and not really a dollar-wise penny spent. Thank you.